Hello and welcome to the PetiteKnit podcast. My name is Erin and I'm so glad you are with me today. It has been a little while since I've been able to sit and film with you all. I just got back from Vegas last night. I was there for a bachelorette party. It was my first time in Vegas, first time in the desert, in any desert, and it was quite the experience. I might share a little bit more about that at the end. But yeah, safe to say, I think I would go back to Vegas. It wasn't like all debauchery like I thought it would be. There's lots to see, lots to do, but I am quite tired. We got back quite late last night and I'm of course a little bit jet lagged. It's only 3 hours difference, but considering we were staying up really late, I feel like the time change is a bit exaggerated, and I could barely get to sleep for like 3 a.m. last night. So it's been quite the journey, but I think I have a lot to share today, which I'm really excited about. I got no knitting basically done on that trip, so all of this is from almost a week ago. So hopefully I can remember everything that I was working on and to be able to share it with you all. I'm also so excited to get caught up with other podcasts in the next week and to kind of settle into things before I go back to the States in 2 weeks, which is wild. But first, before I get into all of that, I would like to thank Ana Luisa for being the sponsor of today's video. Ana Luisa is a jewelry brand. They create really amazing dainty pieces that I think would look good on anyone. They sent me some newer pieces from their collection. So I've got on this stacked set of rings here. They sent me this beautiful pearl ring here, and then this beautiful necklace that I'm wearing as well. This one in particular is one that my mother picked out because they are running an incredible Mother's Day campaign right now. So when they'd given me the opportunity to work with them, I messaged my mom and I said, hey, pick out some pieces for yourself. And so she picked out this necklace, and she also picked out this beautiful necklace, which I will show what it looks like on. And then they also sent me a beautiful pair of earrings because I am soon to get my ears pierced, and I had been really wanting some hugger earrings, and they are just beautiful. Ana Luisa is an all-sustainable brand, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and that I love. All of their pieces are really durable and sustaining. They don't color your fingers or anything like that, and I have had an amazing experience with all of my pieces from Ana Luisa. They really scream quality, and they really follow and are intentional about the materials that they use. They are also climate neutral certified. They have some external certifications as well, which is something that I always look for. So right now they have their Mother's Day campaign going on right now. So it's buy one, get one 60% off. So you get one for your mom, one for your mom-in-law, one for your mom, one for your stepmom, one for your mom, one for yourself, for some other ladies in your lives, which is great. But if you miss that promotion or you would like to use another promotion, you can also use my code kuriaknits20, which is down in the description below, to be able to get 20% off. So thank you again to Ana Luisa, and let's get back to the video. So let's start first with what I am wearing. I am wearing the Semper sweater V-neck by Sophie, who's the Knit Purl girl, and this is a long sleeve raglan with a V-neck, and it's cropped. I won't stand up because it just kind of looks like this going down. But yeah, it is a beautiful design. I love the tapering in the arms here and just the way that it's done so intentionally. I love the raglan, how it's a little bit wide, and then the V-neck is just so beautiful and so well considered. So I really love this design. This took me, as you may know, forever to knit. Not because it should take forever to knit, but because of my yarn choice. So I was actually a tester for this. Sophie has the Semper sweater and the Semper sweater V-neck. So during the test, I only had to test the body. So she was basically just making sure that the neckline worked with this sweater when she was testing it. And so I finished the body back in February or March, I think. So it's been a while that I've been knitting on this thing, and I am using Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk Mohair. And Drops Flora is a fingering weight, I think it's just wool. No, it's I think a wool alpaca blend. And then their mohair is the traditional 70% mohair, 30% silk, somewhere around there. But I found that the Drops Kid Silk Mohair really tore into my fingers when I knit it, and it just made me not want to pick up this project. And so once I finished my obligations for the test, it sat for a little while and I really had to force myself through these arms. That said, like, I don't mind the way that Drops Kid Silk knits up. I do find that it's more sheddy than other mohairs, which is unfortunate, but I really like the finished look. I think it looks beautiful, and for a more affordable yarn, I really think that it's fine in that regard. But it's just not something that I would perhaps choose again. Now, saying that, I know that other people have absolutely no problem with Drops Kid Silk mohair, and that they actually really love it, and that they find it a really good like cheaper alternative to some of the more expensive mohairs. So if that's you, congratulations, you have a great budget mohair that you can use. But for me, I think I will be steering clear of the Drops Kid Silk mohair in the future, unless I really need to do a more budget friendly project. But I think that now that I'm getting a little bit more established in my knitting, I can see the value in really investing in my materials that I'm knitting with, and I will probably be using less drops in the future than I have in the past. I think when you're first getting into knitting, it can be so daunting, like you don't have a stash. Not saying you ever need a stash, but you don't have things to draw from. So when you look at a project, you're like, oh my gosh, and you look to go see what the price of buying it in the recommended yarn, and it's like $200, and you're like, that is way too much for a sweater, especially when you're first starting out, where it's a little bit easier when you say have your wool in your stash and you just have to buy a mohair, though you might be spending $200, you're spending it separately, if you know what I mean. So it feels a little bit better. So I don't know, that's kind of how I think of it. I find that I'm less scared by the sticker price of wools, because I know that the sweaters that I like the most, I think, are the sweaters that I knit with a wool that I invested in. And so yeah, but I mean, that said, I think that this sweater is gorgeous. I really love it. I love the crop length. It's going to be really great for the transition into spring to wear with dresses and skirts. And I would highly recommend this pattern. If the v-neck isn't for you, she also does have this in the scoop neck, like the crew neck, and she has just recently come out with this design, the v-neck and the crew neck, in a slipover version, like a sweater vest. So I would highly recommend all four of those patterns. I think everything that I've made from Sophie has been incredible. She's an amazing person and she makes amazing knits. So I would highly recommend anything that she comes out with. But this sweater in particular, I love it. I've seen lots of other people online that have knit it and love it, so I would very highly recommend it, and I'm so glad to have this as a finished object. That said, I might change because it's quite warm in my room. It's actually it's cool outside. It's like only 8 degrees outside, but for whatever reason, the sun coming into my office right now is making it sweltering. So I think I'm going to change into a t-shirt, and then I will be back to talk about some whips. Okay, I am back, and I put on, this is my Ranunculus t-shirt. I will link the information down below, but let's get into some whips. So let's start with, I think, the longest running whip that I'm still working on. It is almost done though. This is the Freddie Pullover. Freddie? It is indeed the Freddie Pullover. I don't know why that sounded funny to me. But this is by Emily Chen. I am testing it for her, and it is looking like this. So I finished one arm, and I am about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over halfway down the second arm. So it is so close to being done. It has been a ton of knitting. It is on the cropped side, but it is knit on 3.5mm needles, and because of that, it has just been gobbling up yarn. I think this is knit with a DK. I'm knitting it with West Yorkshire Spinners Blueface Luster DK, and usually with a DK weight yarn, you're usually sitting at a 4.5mm, and I had to go down to a 3.5mm needle on this to meet gauge. So it has just been a really tight gauge project, which means it's just using a lot of yarn. I am already on the 6th ball of this, and I have this much left. I've been pulling from the middle, so this might be a bit deceiving, but it's quite squishy. I think I'll just have enough to finish this arm, and 6 skeins of this will be perfect for this project, I believe I'm making a size 4. So keep that in mind if you do plan on making this project. I think it's gorgeous. I think the pattern is going to be really great when it comes out, but it does seem to suck up a lot of yarn. And I think that if you didn't want as dense of a fabric, you could probably get away with a sport weight. But that said, I actually really enjoy the density of this fabric. I think it's going to make a knit that's going to last really well. And I have blocked out the body so you can really tell here, unblocked and blocked. And the blocked out body I think is just beautiful. Like that subtle cabling here, the knits and the pearls and the slip stitches, I just think has made a beautiful sweater. I love it. I think I said this last time, but I do think that if I have some extra yarn, I'm going to extend this collar a little bit. In Emily's version, she has a very exaggerated collar that kind of comes off the shoulder even, and I don't think I want to go that far, but I think I do want a little bit longer than this. So yes, I am so excited to have this done. So this task knit was actually supposed to be due today and it got extended by a week, which I'm thankful for because I am not done the arm, but I know exactly how much yarn I'm going to use because I weighed it before I did this arm and after I did this arm, just in case I wouldn't get this arm done, and then I knew I could give her accurate totals for a test. But because I have the extra time, the extra week, I can definitely get it done within the next little bit. I would say I only have maybe an hour or two, maybe 2 to 3 hours left of knitting, and then I will have this beautiful finished object that I probably won't wear till fall at this point. It's definitely like more of a transitional piece. This color doesn't scream fall, it's like a grayish, but at this point it's getting a little bit too warm to be wearing a knit this dense. Maybe at night when I'm walking the dog, but I do know that I'm going to get a lot of use out of it next year, and I'm super excited to be adding it to this to my, oh my gosh, super excited to be adding this to my wardrobe. Yeah, and I very much recommend this yarn so far. This is a yarn that I picked up in London when I was there last year, and it is beautiful. This is not only my first time using this yarn, it's my first time knitting with Blueface Leicester, and if all of Blueface Leicester yarns are of this quality, I would highly recommend it. This yarn, when knit with, has just a very, I don't know if it'll come up, like the slightest halo on it. That's just natural for this yarn, and it makes just such a beautiful, luxurious feeling fabric. So this will be a yarn that I will definitely be looking out for when I'm in the UK next in July, and it's something that I would consider getting again because it is just a beautiful yarn and I would love to knit something else in it. That said, I do believe that this yarn only had a few color choices and I think they're all quite muted, which might be fine, but if you're more of a bright color knitter, then you might want to look for another choice of yarn. But yeah, I am just really loving this project, and hopefully next time I see you, I will be wearing it as a finished object. The next thing that I've been knitting on, I'm afraid I haven't done as much progress as I had hoped, and that is my field day jacket, just looking like this. So we have come a long way on the body, but definitely not long enough yet. I've got a few more inches to add, and it's looking kind of variegated. Yeah, there we go. It was looking kind of from far away, it looked kind of variegated on the camera, but it is not a variegated yarn. It's like just a straight up cream, and this is what it's looking like. I think it's looking gorgeous. So I am knitting this with Francesca of An Italian Knitter podcast. I will link her information down below. She had kindly gifted this Cascade 220 to me, and I had sent some to her as well to knit this in. If you want the whole story, you can see my previous video and her previous video to get the whole explanation on that. But now we are each making field day cardigans with our Cascade 220, and I am on ball 3 of 6. So lots of lengthening of the body to go. I find that although the body looks quite long already, when I try it on, it is hitting maybe at my waist, and I would like it to sit more at my hips. I would like this to be like a full size, beefy cardigan. So I'm really pleased with the way this is looking up, looking up. Can you tell I'm tired? And I'm really happy to do the the button band with the rest of the cardigan. That said, I don't think I'm actually putting buttons on it. I haven't been making buttonholes, so I guess I've already made that decision for myself, but you can force buttonholes after you're done knitting it if you need to. So I guess I always have that as an option, but the plan is to not have buttonholes on this one because I don't think it'll be the type of cardigan that I'll ever want to do up anyways. And I don't think I said that but this pattern is by the lovely Ozetta, and I've made quite a few of her patterns before. I think that she makes excellent patterns, and so far from what I've seen and from what I've heard from other people, I would recommend this pattern as well. And yeah, it's just making a lovely product. The one thing I do wish is that there was a nicer pickup in the back. So the back panel is made with short rows, and I have seen other designs in the past that make the short rows so that you have a nice like ledge of stockinette here, and I think that I prefer that look. And had I been thinking more clearly about this, I think I would have created that for myself. I'm thinking of how, say, sweater number 23 is made. It has a distinct line in the back that is just more of a design feature, but it's a design feature I really appreciate, and I think it looks a little bit cleaner than just picking up the stitches straight out. That said, this hasn't been blocked, so this will look a bit nicer once it's been blocked, but I do wish that that had been a design feature in this, and I think if I were to make this jacket again, it would be something that I would add. And this is called a jacket because she does have a cardigan version that is made in a DK weight yarn, I believe, and we are making this in a worsted weight yarn. And I don't remember, I think it was intended for an Aran weight, but I've had no problems with it. I am knitting with the recommended needles, and so far I've been bang on gauge, which is really nice. So hopefully I can finish up the body soon, and then I can get to chugging on the arms. I think the arms are going to go fast, but I do think I'll probably need all 6 balls of yarn for this one, just because I feel like you use more yarn in your purls, and usually for sweaters in Cascade 220 I need like 5 1/4. I feel like I'm going to need closer to 5 3/4 yarn for this one, yarn skates for this one, just because I'm going to add a little bit more length, and I would like it to I would like the arms to be on the longer side as well, just so it can be like a comfy, cozy, throw over everything type of cardigan. Speaking of cardigans, I have another cardigan, but it's not the same cardigan as I showed you last time, so let me show you. So last time I was speaking about my dreams for a lavender cardigan, and I'm going to talk about that more in acquisitions, but safe to say the lavender cardigan that I cast on last time, I have frogged because I wasn't completely happy with how the product was turning out. So I was looking through my stash, I still wanted to cast on another cardigan in a light color, and I realized I had this Knitting for Olive that I started knitting a cardigan in and then ripped it back because I ended up messing up and never got back to it. So I decided to cast that on instead. And I am knitting this in Knitting for Olive, their wool and their mohair, and it's in the color Putty and Kit, maybe. I will put, let me just look. Okay, so they are in the color Marzipan and Kit. Kit and Putty are the same color, so they look like this. They are making the most beautiful fabric. Look at that. Look at that halo. It is looking gorgeous. So I am making the April cardigan by PetiteKnit. I had gone back and forth on what cardigan to select because I don't know, there's something about making another PetiteKnit pattern. I wanted to look for some more indie designers, but there's something about this that is just such a classic that I think it's going to be the best choice for me for this. So I have been knitting the yoke, and this is taking a decent amount of time because it's knit on 4mm needles and there's just a lot of stitches. It's quite a narrow gauge, and it has a really interesting construction where it almost creates a pseudo oh, what's it called? With the shoulder blocking. It has completely escaped my mind. If I think of it, I will put it on the screen. But it creates this kind of block outwards, and then you start increasing for the armholes, which I think is really fun and really creative. And I'm really interested to see the way that this shaping will work on me. So basically with this cardigan, you knit the whole body and then you add the button band. So I still have a lot to go on this. This is what I've been taking around to work with me, and that's basically the time that I've been working on it. But I am so excited to have this as a finished object. To be honest, there's a lot of purling. It's not my favorite to work on for that reason, but I keep on stopping and feeling this finished product, and it is beautiful. This combination of yarn is divine. I really hope it holds up well to wear, because I am loving the fabric, and I can see myself knitting a lot of this combination again. Out of all of the mohair I've tried, this is definitely the nicest right off the gate pre-blocking. So I have high hopes for what this is going to feel like and look like once it is all said and done. But for now, I'm kind of just working back and forth, doing the increases, and hopefully soonish I'll be able to separate for the arms, and it will hopefully, fingers crossed, go a little bit faster. The thing is that I definitely need more cardigans in my wardrobe, which is why I've been knitting more cardigans, and I have another one that I'm going to cast on soon. But they are not my favorite to knit on. So I think it's a delicate balance between allowing myself the sweaters, because I enjoy knitting them much more, but also keeping in mind that you want to knit things that you're going to use. And right now, I think my best use case, or my most needed thing, is to knit cardigans. So I need to get over my adversity to purling and just suck it up and do it. And so this is the best way I know how to do that, is just to do it. Just cast it on, love the yarn, love the product, and it will hopefully make you love the process. And fingers crossed, one day I will. I know I've experimented with some different types of purling, and the time it takes has never outweighed the feeling. Let me explain that more. So one of the reasons I don't like purling as much is because I find that my hands get tired quicker when purling. And I've tried some other styles of purling, like Portuguese purling and Norwegian purling, and I think one other style of purling that I don't remember the name of, and they've all worked fine. They all help my hand health, but they're so much slower that I think I'd rather go faster and get fatigued more quickly and then switch to a project where I'm just knitting than spend the time doing the slower purl and knit for longer. And that's just my preference. I know that a lot of other people feel the opposite way, where they'd rather just knit for longer and not fatigue their hands on purls. But for me, I would rather fatigue my hand in that way and then switch to another project, if that makes sense. So because my field day jacket is almost ready to put arms on, that project will just be stockinette in the round. So I'm hoping with these cardigans that I can only have one on the needles, ideally, that I'm purling a ton, and then the other one can be in the process of getting arms. And I'm just working in the round, and that way I can work on one until I feel like my hands are getting a little bit tired of the purling motion, and then I can switch to the other one for stockinette, and it won't be as tiring on my hands, and that way I can get some cardigans off my needles is the plan there. Fingers crossed that ends up working out. But honestly, I'm just trying my best over here, and I can see myself getting a little bit cardigan fatigued in the future. But while I have the inspiration for it and the drive to do it, I'm going to embrace it and ride this train until I can't ride it anymore. So I've got one more whip and then a load of acquisitions. So let's start with the whip. So this is the knit that I took to Vegas with me, and I don't have a lot of progress to show on it. This is all I did in Vegas. ta-da! It looks like nothing. And I'm holding it backwards too. So I decided to cast on a summer project because in Vegas it is hot. So this will probably sit for a little bit now that I'm back home and can work on some of the things that I already had on my needles. But looks like this. It is a broken rib pattern, and I am going to be making this into a tank top. So I am not following a pattern for this. I am basically freehanding a tank top. So this is going to be the back panel. It's going to sit like this, and I'm almost ready to start doing the armholes, and then I'm going to pick up for the straps, kind of like this. I'm kind of following a traditional tank top construction, but I'm just doing it in broken rib to save myself from purling full of rows, and it is going by very well. I am using the Drops line that I also got from the lovely Francesca, or Lena as the Europeans say. This is from Sanisgarn. It is a beautiful 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And I'm using this beautiful green color. You guys know how I feel about greens. I think that this is going to make a beautiful tank top, but to be honest, I don't have a lot to say about it. I do really love working with this yarn. Broken rib is also one of my favorite stitch patterns to knit. I find that it fatigues by hand much less if I'm working knit purl than purl purl purl. So I really enjoy the ribbing rows, and of course a knit row is always a good row. So I am knitting this on 4mm needles, and I brought with me these rounded hook. These are the Prim's Ergonomics, and they are some of my favorite needles, especially when I was first starting out. I find that that ergonomic tip helps you pick up stitches really easily, and I've never had a problem with these in the airport because they're not metal, they're plastic, and they also have a very blunt tip because they're rounded. I had a question in one of my videos as to whether it bothers me to use these rounded tips, and no, because of the tapering. I think that if it had been rounded and not tapered, it would bother me, but the shape of these actually are really good at scooping up a stitch and making it workable for you. So I have these in 4mm all the way up to 8mm. I was gonna say 7, but they're in US sizing, so in 8mm, and I use them frequently, actually, and these are what I'm probably going to bring to Europe this time around because I'm now a little bit afraid to lose my needles. Although if I'm just going to England, it should be fine, but who knows. But anyways, highly recommend these, especially if you're traveling. I think that they're a really good needle to have. They are, however, fixed, so just keep that in mind. You won't have the flexibility that you would with a interchangeable set of needles. So let's get on to acquisitions. I feel like I flew through all those projects, but to be honest, because I've been gone for 5 days, I feel a little bit removed from them. And so, excuse me, perhaps it would have been better for me to film this in a few days when I'm back in the swing of things, but I owe you guys an episode, so I'm gonna film it now. So I actually have a lot to show. I've done some thrifting. I did a trade. I traded myself to some yarn, and I also have some lovely acquisitions that I got from my grandmother to show you all. So that's not something you're interested in, thank you for watching. I also want to take a moment here. While I was in the airport, one of you really kindly came up to me and said hello. So hello, I'm sorry I was so unbelievably flustered when you came up to me. We had, I was in the airport going to Vegas at Pearson, and they changed their gate 4 times, and we were just like running around Terminal 1. So I hope you had an amazing time in Arizona. Thank you so much for saying hi. I'm sorry I was so flustered, but it meant the world to me that you came up and said hello. But yes, we got to Vegas and we had quite a bachelorette party. It was a little bit difficult on me, to be honest. The first night I had 1 margarita and it took me out. I have something called, or I'm calling, or I've Googled COVID-induced alcohol intolerance. It is decently common among a lot of people who had long COVID that they have this lingering alcohol intolerance that acts a little bit like an allergy. And I had been trying to get my alcohol tolerance back up. I had had some drinks in Cuba. I've had some drinks here at home, like a beer or two now and then again. I'm not a big drinker, but I do like going out and having drinks with friends. As someone who has anxiety, I find that it helps me when I'm out and in a crowd open up a little bit more. And I've never been someone that has had a problem with overindulging in alcohol, but I had one margarita and I was so unbelievably nauseous and sick that I could not eat the next day. And I had to stay back at the hotel from some of the activities that we did. And it was kind of like the nail in the coffin. I can't drink alcohol anymore for the moment. I thought it was a tolerance that I could get back. And unfortunately, it is a tolerance that I don't think I can get back, at least for now. Who knows if more research will come out about this. There's been a lot of reports of people experiencing alcohol intolerance from long COVID, but there haven't been a lot of answers as to why that's happening. And so I'm going to keep an eye out on answers. If this has happened to you, please let me know. I mean, it's obviously not the worst thing in the world to be sober. It certainly saved me money and probably saved a few brain cells as well. But I would like to have a drink every now and then. So it's something that I will be looking for opportunities to change. But ultimately, if that's the way I need to live my life, it's not that much of a sacrifice, as it is just a little bit annoying. And obviously, like, for me, having a drink is not worth being that sick. It just means that I'm going to get some jokes about me, a lot of jokes about me being a super lightweight, can't even handle one drink. But yes, it was good overall. We went to a couple of shows. We walked around the hotels a lot. I would honestly go back. There's so much to do and so much to see. And I actually really enjoyed being there a lot more than I thought I would. It was my first time in a desert. It was really cool to feel like a really dry heat. And there was just so much like a spectacle for the eyes. It was really just amazing to walk around the strip, and it was definitely something that I would do again. So if you have been considering Vegas, I would highly recommend it. I do have some recommendations. If you're interested, send me a message. But yeah, overall it was a good time. I'm glad that I went. It wasn't as horrific as I thought it would be. I was just a little worried that it would be all drunkenness and stupor sort of thing, but it really wasn't. There were families there. There was lots to see and do, even if you are not a drinker, a gambler, that sort of thing. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. But just before I went there, I had went down to go see my grandmother. She lives kind of near Chatham, Kent. Chatham, Kent? Is that how it's called? Chatham area. And on the way there, I decided to stop in London. I have always wanted to go to the big Goodwill in London, and I stopped in and I found a few things. The most exciting thing is these. I found 6 of these actually. I just brought 2 of them over, and they are Holsgard. I could not believe it. They were, yeah, $2.79 each. This is their super soft in this, I think this is the color Kozak, and it is 100% wool, fingering weight wool, and I found it in a beautiful green color. So that's exciting. So I have 6 of these that I was able to pick up at the thrift store. It was an amazing find. Since have been sitting in the freezer, so they're a little chilly because I didn't see any bad signs on them, but I just wanted to be sure. And they did seem like they had been on a basket with a lot of other fibers. So I'll probably be picking some things out of them. One of the turmoils of thrifting, I suppose. But for the deal that I got on these, like, amazing. What a find. I was super excited. And I would recommend those Goodwills. They're actually really nice. There's a few of them around the city. I also stopped in at the London Tildees, and I was able to find them clothes there. No yarn, but I was able to find some good clothes there as well. And Tildees, if you were in Southern Ontario, is one of my favorite thrift stores because they still allow you to try things on. So I highly recommend checking them out. And then if you remember, I think it was last episode or perhaps the episode before, I had been talking about I had been able to get some Leica needles secondhand, and they were the 3.5 inch thickness or depth, length is the word I'm looking for, 3.5 inches, and they were just a bit too small for my hands. I found that knitting with them is a bit of a challenge for me, and so one of you lovely people reached out and said, how about a trade? I've got some knitting for olive pure silk that I can send you, and you can send me your needles. And I said, yes, of course, thank you so much. It is Knit Granny Knit on Instagram. I don't know if you want me giving her name, so I won't, but I will absolutely link her Instagram down below if you'd like to check her out. I was able to send her those Leica needles, and I sent her another skein of yarn in there as well as a thank you, and she sent 6 beautiful skeins of this knitting for olive pure silk, and it is so pretty. She is definitely someone who enjoys the brighter colors a little bit more, and so she just thought that she wouldn't wear this color as much, but it is a color that I love. So this is in the color Cardamom, and it is their 100% Ecotex certified silk, and this is a yarn that I love to knit with. There is a strand of silk in this shirt, actually. This is knitting for olive silk in the color Sunflower, I believe, and then Crea Deluxe cotton in an equivalent color, and that's what I made this in. One of my favorite ways of using knitting for olive pure silk is to pair it with another yarn. I find that it pairs so well with cottons and also with wool, so I highly recommend that. But since I have 6 skeins of this, I certainly have enough to make something exclusively in pure silk, and it depends. I think if I made camisoles, I could make 2, or I could hold them together to make more of a thicker t-shirt. So I'm unsure as to what I'm going to use these for yet, but I certainly have enough of them to do whatever I pleased. So that's nice. So these are going to be going in the stash, and excuse me, I don't know what's going on with me today. My stomach is apparently a little unsettled still from Vegas. Excuse me. So I will be putting these in my stash of summer yarn. I don't actually have a lot of summer yarn on the roster for summer, so I was very happy to receive this because very soon it will be a little bit too warm to be knitting wool all the time. So I'm sure on top of my Lena cardigan that I will be looking for something summery to cast on. Lastly, for acquisitions, I received some good news about a scholarship that I got, which is very exciting, and it was really funny. I was saying that I wanted to purchase a specific yarn, and Jason said, my husband, had said, okay, well, why don't we wait? This isn't him. I'll give the caveat, this isn't him controlling my spending in any way. I really like it when he says, wait until something happens to spend money on frivolous things, because it allows me to not be so frivolous with my own spending. And so please don't take this as my husband controlling my spending in any way. I've seen comments like that on other people's videos when people talk about things like this. That is not what's going on at all. My husband is very generous, and we spend our finances together as a couple. But he had said, well, why don't you hold off until you get your next win, like you get your next scholarship or you get some big success, and then you can make that order. And hours later, I found out I gotten this, and I was like, oh babe, look what I got. So a huge win for me, and as a congratulations to myself, I was looking to make an order, and actually what I was planning to order they didn't have in stock, so I won't mention that, but I did end up making an order with Purl Soho. So this is my second ever order with Purl Soho. I really love their yarns, and my main thing was to find something to pair with my Ozetta. So I had been pairing this with a thrifted mohair blend that I'd used that it was a bit of a boucle vibe, and I had shown you the cardigan that I was making with it in last podcast, and I just wasn't pleased with it as I kept knitting on it. I was talking about last time how I thought it might be like an ugly pretty kind of deal where the cardigan was kind of like funky looking, and I just wasn't happy with it. And so I was on a mission to find something to pair with this, and the more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, I don't think I want it to be a mohair because I want this to be more of a spring summer cardigan, and then a mohair doesn't make sense. It will add too much warmth. This is already wool, and so I was looking for something cottony, linen-y to pair with it, and then eventually I thought, well, why not linen quill? It's a beautiful yarn. If I can find a good color to match, that'll be the yarn I pair with it. So I ordered their linen quill in the only purple color they had, And it's definitely going to mute down this sweater, but I think that they're going to pair well together. So this is their color Purple Smoke. So it's definitely, you can see that linen in there. It definitely brings a little bit of a grayness to the sweater, and the grayness isn't necessarily what I was going for, but I honestly think that with the linen content in here, it's going to make such a nicer fabric and so much more of a wearable fabric for the season that I want this cardigan to go well in. So linen quill is 50% Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. I find that it wears really nicely, and so I am excited to pair these two, and I'm just praying that this works out. I had a few of you ask why I wasn't just making a fingering weight cardigan. Are you crazy? No, thank you. I do not want to do that. That said, if these do not pair well together, I might have to consider it. Making something else with these guys. I don't know what I would do. So I got 3 skeins of this to pair with the Ozetta. It's a bit of an unusual pairing, I think, but I have hope that these knitted together will make a really beautiful marl that I'll actually like, that will look good, and that I can live my purple cardigan dreams. That is the hope, and we're just gonna keep on thinking that that will happen until it inevitably falls apart again. So and then I got some more linen quill. This is the color that I have in my stash. I have one in my stash because I was planning to pair it with, oh my gosh, falling yarn. I was planning to pair it with this navy to make a color work, but the fingering weight sweater that I was planning to make, I'm not planning to make anymore. And so I had 1 skein of this and 3 skeins of this. These 3 skeins are going to make a sweater, and then I got 2 more skeins of this color to make a different shirt or sweater. So this might be a summer top, I don't know yet, or it might turn into a lighter sweater or a 3/4 length. I haven't completely decided, but I wanted to order 2 more of this color. This color is oatmeal gray, and I just to be able to have the option, because I knew that what I had intended to make with it, I don't want to make with it anymore, and I needed something else. I was also thinking that this might pair well with this mohair that I thrifted, so that's an option for a sweater as well. And I was thinking it might pair well with this, but I think that's too dark. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it on camera, it's definitely too dark. But finding a light mohair or something to pair with this is quite easy. And it's much easier to find something to do with 3 skeins than it is to do something with 1 skein, especially something like this that's so flowy. It's not necessarily what I want to be doing. And honestly, now that I have 3 and 3, should I make the beloved triangle wrap? If the purple doesn't work out, I mean, those 3 all look good together. So we have options. I don't think I'm going to do a triangles wrap, guys. I don't think it's for me. I think it's beautiful. I don't think I'd ever use it. I know people use it as like a lap blanket or like wrap it around themselves, but those chunky scarves are not something that I ever wear or have a desire to wear. And while I would use a lap blanket, I would just choose to make a blanket. Like, I'd want it longer. So I don't know, it's just not for me, but I love when people make them because I like to look at them, and I love the color combinations. But it's funny now having 3 colors where I have 3 skeins of Purl Soho. I feel like I'm gearing up towards a half and half triangles wrap, but I've got different plans for them all. So hopefully those work. And I guess I have a backup if it doesn't. The last thing I got was I wanted to try another yarn for Purl Soho. By the way, I had gotten the linen quill for 20% off. Never pay full price for linen quill. I feel like it's 20% off every other week. So wait for a sale, and it's much better, especially when you're getting it shipped to Canada and you get stuck with customs. And this time around, they did get me with the customs, and they were heckin' expensive. So get the deals where you can get them, because it's expensive enough living out here. So I wanted to try something else from Purl Soho, and I decided to try this Goodwool. Goodwool. It's called Goodwool. It is 100% Indian Highland wool, and I thought I'd like that because I really like Peruvian wool, and I think the Andes are in Peru, South American at the very least. my geography is failing me, clearly. This is in the color Olive Oil, and the reason I got this color is because I've been seeing it all over Instagram. And it's just been striking me as something that I really want to try. I feel like I tried all of the other shades of green, but I haven't tried this really yellowy green. And it's been looking so good on everyone, and I think it would look good on me too. I think my best green with my complexion is like this dark green. I feel like looks really good with my complexion, but I like looking at this green. So even if it doesn't look great on me, I haven't gotten my color analysis done. It is something that I would consider getting done, but I haven't gotten it done. And until then, I can live in color bliss, where I just think everything looks good on me because I look good. That was a lot. Yeah, let's say we're having a confident day today. So that is, this is a sport weight yarn. It's 383 yards per 100 grams. But I've seen people knit on this at a DK weight, and that is probably what I'm going to plan to do. These have a lot of yardage in them, so I figured 3 of them would get me at the very least like a cropped sweater. And that's basically what I plan to do with it. I don't remember if I said this is color Olive Oil, and it is honestly beautiful. The variegation in this yarn is really nice, and it feels nice. So I'm excited to see how it knits up. From what I saw from reviews online, people were really pleased with it. And so yeah, I'm excited to see how this goes. This might be going in stash until next fall, but I'm very happy to have it, and I'm very excited to one day be making a project with this. So that is all the yarn acquisitions, but my Nana has caught the knitting mojo, and while I was at her house, she had handed me a stack of knit dish rags that she was like, you better show this on your podcast. And so of course I will be. She has been knitting them from like a dish rag book or magazine that she had gotten, and this isn't even all of them, guys. She had knit me so many, and I've been using them, and that's why I don't have all of them, because some of them are in the washing machine and some of them are just scattered around my house. So she has been knitting like half and half, beautiful combinations. Let's show some other ones. This one is double knitting, so it's really thick, which is great. And dishcloths aren't something that I necessarily enjoy knitting, and so I'm very thankful to have someone knitting them for me. The double knitting ones are really nice and thick. They feel really lush. They don't necessarily look as nice because I feel like the double knitting kind of shows through, but this one's knit perfectly actually. And that's not her fault. It's just cotton yarn is tough to work with. But yeah, they are great. So I would highly recommend getting some knit dishcloths in your life. We have been using these to death. They are so nice. She even made some with funky designs. It's white, so it's hard to see. But yeah, they're gorgeous. Look at this. So, love these. Thank you, Nana. We have been using them a lot. And then she also made me 2 pairs of slippers. And you guys don't pay me enough to show my feet, so there we go. Ta-da! These are, I think it looks like a bulky weight acrylic, but yeah, I've been wearing them around the house. They've been great. She actually knit me 2 pairs, and my husband has taken the other one, and he loves them. So wonderful. 2 things that I don't have any desire to knit, and I had someone else knit them for me. So thank you, Nana. They have been put to good use, and we have been loving them. So that is, I think, all I have to say in this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you again to Anna Louisa for sponsoring, and I will see you next time. I hope you are having an amazing week, an amazing time. And oh, one more thing I wanted to say is that the Oolong tank, which a lot of you have loved, it's a pattern that I have loved, that I was able to test for Aimee Sher, is out as of Thursday when I'm filming. That is April 27th, I believe. I will post about it on my Instagram. A ton of you had messaged me asking when the pattern was out. It is out this week. Very exciting. I can't wait to see all of you guys make it. So get on it. But I will see you next time. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Bye.